just the last week.
Looks pretty brief tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, November 13th, 2017. It's 6:30 p.m. It's time for the Board of Selectmen meeting. First item on the agenda, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
You don't have to recuse yourself.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I was going to tell them to take it out of order.
All right. Item number 2, we have acceptance of minutes. We have the minutes of October 30th, 2017. Mr. Siganevich.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes of October 30th, 2017.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Siganevich, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we
Mr.
release
Ruda?
executive minutes of 8/22/16 and 9/26/16 as they were in regard to the Islamic Society of Greater Worcester versus the Zoning Board of Appeals et al. Tabled from 10/30/2017.
Motion by Mr. Ruda, seconded by Mr. Siganevich. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay.
One recuse.
Oh, one recusal, sorry. Missed that. 401.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. All right.
Caught him again.
Item number 3, under appointments and resignations, the Highway Department has one tonight, Luke Asselin. We want to reclassify the job from a laborer position to a truck driver. Danny?
Mr. Chairman, back in April of 2016, there was an opening on the Highway Department for a truck driver / laborer. But at that time, the budget wouldn't accommodate the pay rate. So what we did was reduce it down to a laborer. And when we hired Mr. Aston, he also had a CDL license to operate the dump trucks as well as equipment operators licenses.
Okay.
We told him at that time that if when the budget became a little stronger, we would hopefully reclassify him as a truck driver laborer instead of just a straight laborer. This fiscal year's budget would allow for that. There was a discussion with the union a couple months back. They weren't really in favor of what the town wanted to do, but after several discussions, they overwhelmingly agreed to it. So I'd like to reclassify Mr. Aslan as a truck driver laborer instead of just a laborer.
Okay, thanks, Danny. Mr. Joseph?
Danny, 2 questions. One, can a truck driver cover at the recycling center if need be?
Yes.
Okay? And do we have any other open, unfunded, unfilled positions?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Sullivan?
I just don't have that on my agenda, Mr. Chair.
Oh,
I'm
use
caught a little
mine.
off guard.
Use
okay,
mine.
that's all right.
Mr. Valiakonis, through the chair, has been involved with the union discussions
Yeah.
on this position,
Yep.
concurring with the highway superintendent.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan, and I agree to it.
So, Mr. Chair, through you,
Mr. Sullivan?
so if this vote goes through, we'll be back to one labor position, that's where we're going to stay?
We'll have one straight laborer's position, yes.
Because I know at the Shepherd Hill, I asked the question, if we promote it, we're not going to come, right, this time, there's no intention to come back next year for a second labor, right?
Not at this time, no.
Because we're using, I was paying attention, but I was trying to find it on the agenda. This goes back to the discussion we had at Shepherd Hill about person out on injury.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Everything will be covered at this point here.
Okay, I thought I heard you say that. Thank you.
Question?
Joseph?
How many positions are we down from what we should be total? Based on the increase in number of streets and work that we do?
Well, we've had the same amount of men since 1950. And back
Okay.
then, we had 85 roads, we have 217 today. With the addition of the labor, we just, that the board voted on a few weeks ago, counting the person who's out on workman's comp, we will have gained one position in that time.
All right. Mr. Chairman, could I ask that we request that the town administrator and the highway superintendent during the budget process for the coming fiscal year consider adding 2 unfunded, unfilled labor positions to the highway department. And I think that this will address an issue that Mr. Sullivan has raised more than once, and that is that If you don't have any room for Indians, you can't do anything. You can't put any Indians in there. So I would just ask that.
Okay. All right, so, any other discussion before we vote on that?
Well, as an aside, Mr. Chair,
Steve?
I haven't spoken to either the superintendent or the administrator in a while, but isn't there some discussion as to how we were trying to fund more fully the town's obligation as opposed to
Yes.
how we do it now?
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Yes. So versus using Chapter 90 to
Yes.
offset a portion of our budget, yes.
Because I know last year was going to be an either-or proposition, and
Yep.
Danny made a choice, but then due to constraints,
We had no money, but that is absolutely an approach that we want to pursue.
okay. Which could lead to down the road to,
Yep.
It's there, in case we want it.
Correct.
Right.
okay, I just want to make sure we're all
Yep, that makes
on the
sense.
same page.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Joseph?
I'm going to move that, and I would like a starting date on this. Is
Yeah.
it effective immediately? I'm going to move that we approve the appointment of Luke Aslan, that his job description be reclassified from laborer to truck driver in the highway department. Greg, is that effective immediately?
Yes. Yes, Paul.
Effective immediately.
That should be truck driver laborer, not just a straight truck
Say
driver.
again?
That should be truck driver laborer position. Truck driver / laborer, it's the two positions
Truck
in one.
driver /
Yeah,
laborer.
you're also a laborer when you're not driving a truck, as opposed to just a
I
laborer.
would hope so, that
Yeah,
we
well,
don't
you-
just let him go.
I just want to just clarify that.
Okay.
Okay, motion by
Thank
Mr.
you.
Joseph,
Second.
second by Mr. Sigenovich.
Quick
Any-
question, Danny,
discussion? Steve?
does that affect payroll? Like, usually wait to the beginning of a week to do it? If you start tomorrow, should we wait a week and do it Monday?
Well, I would start it today. I mean, he's been waiting over a year for it. I mean,
So that doesn't affect anything, you're just doing,
No, it-
start
there's-
a new grade tomorrow?
yep, the money's in the budget right now.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Okay,
Thank you.
good, thanks, Danny. Public comments? Is there anybody in the audience here who would like to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda? Scott? Not on tonight's agenda? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Mr. Zakowski, 8 Catherine. Take care of that for you.
Yeah, share mine, just like in school.
One day I want to get up here and say something that's not, in any case. I've had conversations with a few of you, Mr. Balukonis and Mr. Jankowski before him. In any case, Saturday, after a very cold parade, I got a ride back up here. And as I was arriving here, a gentleman and his 3 young children were just arriving back after walking back. They marched down and walked back. And his little girl, about 5 years old, was bawling. So I looked down at her and asked her what was wrong, and she said she really needed to go to the bathroom. So we came up here and said, well, we can go in the town hall. So the door was unlocked, so we brought her in. The outside door was unlocked. You know where I'm going. We came in, and the bathrooms downstairs were yet again locked. This is a public building, those are public bathrooms. There's absolutely no reason why those doors should ever be locked from the outside, ever. If the folks in buildings and grounds that have, and I know why they do it so they don't have to clean it. If that's the case, if they don't want to do the job, I suggest they find another one. So, like I said, I've spoken to you a number of times. I've spoke to other members of your board. I've spoken to Mr. Balukonis about it, and I spoke to Mr. Jankowski about it. So, at this point, I'm strongly suggesting that the locks be removed, the key locks be removed from those doors. The locks from the inside, where folks can lock the door when they go in, unlock when they turn the handle to go out. There's absolutely no reason to have a key lock on those doors.
Okay, I know, sorry. Come on up, Chief. Chief has a comment.
You know, Mr. Chair, while we wait for the chief, and I know the superintendent will back me up on this, I, more than once, after a function, or sometimes it was in the morning, I don't know if maybe they just forgot to unlock them, that's been an issue that, I talked to Scott the other day, but that's been an issue that's
It gets better and then it goes back to the way
Well,
it
it's
was.
gone up and down my spine a couple times on similar circumstances.
Right.
I've seen elderly that are at the senior center, or they come early for something, and they're coming out, and let me talk to you for a minute, and then, it sounds like a small thing, but it can be a major issue for someone.
I agree. Chief?
This is obviously something for you to decide as far as the rest of the building, however it's open or used, or whatever it is. There is a bathroom right as you come in through our lobby, right on the left-hand side. There's basically a family bathroom there that's open all the time. So that's always open. I think part of this was to try to keep the people from roaming through the building, because we have had occasions where, especially like in the afternoons on Fridays when the place closes, if somebody didn't lock a door someplace, people come in to pay a bill or whatever, we have people wandering through the hallways here when there's nobody else around. So whatever the bathroom situation is, that's yours to make, but there is always a bathroom that's open right in our lobby, right as you come in the door.
The thing about that, though, Mr. Chair, it's a co-ed, and I understand it gets use, but.
Let me get this right.
It could be it could be considered like a family restaurant, I agree, but it's also, I wouldn't want my 5-year-old daughter sometimes to go in the bathroom after a 40 or 50-year-old man's gone in there.
Let me get this
My
right, all
point
I have
exactly.
two.
right?
And she's
Let
not
me
5
get this
anymore.
right. Greg,
Yes, sir.
did you talk to Scott about this?
I think we've had a conversation in the past, yeah.
And did you refuse to do anything about it?
Well, I think now we have a specific step in mind to alleviate the problem.
Okay. You know what?
We're on the same page. I think the bathroom
Here
should
we
be
are,
open.
the executive branch of this town government,
We're talking about bathrooms? Is that what you're gonna say?
and we're sitting, listening to a complaint about a bathroom that can be resolved by a decision by the town administrator. This is borderline absurd. It's borderline absurd. I'm not saying it's not important to you
Thank you, sir.
or to that little girl, but to take up time, and I should stop immediately, to take up time with this baloney when it could be done administratively is absurd. Ridiculous.
The answer is just to leave the damn thing unlocked for the time being.
And that's what we'll
There's no
do.
reason for that to be locked.
We will disable the outside locks.
To be fair, Mr.
Not to
Chair,
take the locks off, but just,
to be fair, Mr. Chair, and I don't want to belabor the point either, like Mr. Joseph, I don't know if anybody else was on the board except he and I. We had a woman in here several years ago, elderly woman. Somebody had put Michelle, you must remember, you were here. Somebody put a sign in there about, I forget, there was some kind of like little jingle to it. If you tingle and stuff.
You sprinkle when you tinkle, please be
It
neat
was
and wipe the
something.
seat.
It was very offensive, and we addressed it then. Paul was on the board. I mean, you're right, Paul. This should not keep percolating up, and it's a small issue in the big scheme of things, but it's a big issue to some people.
Everything's a big issue to somebody.
Correct. And-
Some things don't deserve to be brought up to us when they can be handled administratively.
Well, I think if Scott's frustrated and didn't get any results so far, sometimes
You get results
Thanks.
for a little while. It goes on for
Right,
a little while,
yeah,
it's
that's-
better, and then you come over
yeah.
and usually when you're,
That's what
You don't have
usually
time to go
happens.
looking
'cause
around.
This has come up since I've been on
Mr.
it.
Chair, I make a suggestion that we just instruct the town administrator to work with the building and grounds superintendent, and that problem goes away.
Yep. Good.
What's next?
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Scott.
Thank you,
Anybody
Scott.
else have anything on tonight's agenda, not on tonight's agenda? Thank you. Okay, Greg, Town Administrator's report?
Just a couple things. It had been brought to my attention by some residents and by some board members about flooding up on West Dudley Road in the area of the solar site that was put in within the past year. So I did have an opportunity to go up to the site with a conservation agent, and I've received a summary back from that meeting indicating that the developer will be putting in additional straw bales to slow the volume of water that's running down the site and impacting some of the neighboring properties. They've also committed to presenting a new plan to the Conservation Commission for their approval, which will address how they intend to capture and slow the water that's coming off of the site. And then they're also indicating within the next 2 weeks that they will be remobilizing their civil contractor to repair damage to the retention basins and remove any sediment. Longer term, they're committed to providing some additional plantings and seedings on the site. Overall, I think it was a positive meeting, and I found that the solar people are interested in solving the problem. So they will work with Concom in terms of addressing this and making sure that it gets resolved going forward.
Good. Steve?
Mr. Chair, through the administrator, was there any discussion about how much time and effort we've had to use to go up there to, if anybody saw those pictures that the highway superintendent took, you know, it's manpower, and, you know, we're just talking about staffing, and, I mean, it was manpower, and it was a mess.
If we have
Sweep it
any
again, yeah.
costs and we can document hours, then I will present that bill to the developer and ask that it be paid.
Danny, can you see if you can work that up, please?
I can work
Dave?
on it, report back to you.
Yep, wonderful.
Great.
Anything else, Greg?
Yeah, just a couple other quick things. It was reported at the recent planning board meeting, there was a discussion about the Stevens Mill site, and there were some comments at the meeting made relative to tax increment financing or TIF financing for the project. And I just want to clarify that I've had a couple of discussions with the developer of the site, which is Wind Development Company, and I've indicated that I wholeheartedly stand behind the project. But linking that to saying that I support a TIF, which is a tax relief, is not something that I committed to. And I guess it had come out in the meeting saying the town administrator endorsed and supported a TIF financing for the project. And TIF financing is intended to relieve taxes where there's a significant investment being made, but more importantly, it relates to commercial and industrial projects, not residential projects. And then secondly, and I stated this to the developer, it involves permanent job creation. And having someone cutting grass or shoveling snow is not permanent job creation. So I did indicate to that, and I wanted to go down and clarify that although I support the project, I think that the idea that it could be converted into a TIF is a stretch.
And Greg, and they're committing to, or talking about having commercial space in that new proposal too,
They are.
correct?
They are.
Chairman,
Mr. Joseph?
could the town administrator send us, in your own words, Greg, a summary of state law regarding TIF, what freedoms and limitations the municipality has?
Yeah, Paul, we actually have a TIF.
Policy.
We have a policy,
Okay.
and the policy is pretty good. It specifically addresses permanent job creation.
Could you remind us
Part
of
of
that, please?
Well,
Mr. Chair, as you know, I contacted you and Mr. Balkunis when I saw that, and part of what and some members of the planning board in economic development was there in his role as the alternate, I guess, and some people did question him on it, and the gentleman, as they were touching upon it, was trying to also sell it as, well, basically paraphrasing, we're gonna get 92 units, 92, 94, 92. So you're gonna get tax money where there's no tax now. So what they're kind of saying is, why, we should get it, we should be considered for a TIF, because right now you're getting zero. So if we give you 30%, that's more than zero. I mean, 30% is my paraphrase, but I agree with town administrator, and I guess economic development / alternate could speak better on it. In my opinion, this is not the kind of project that we want to get involved in with a TIF.
I don't either. Is he gonna throw a set of steak knives in with it too? I mean, it sounds like,
Is there any formula, Mr. Chairman, that we can come up with for what the impact of, what the increase in residential property, apartments would be in terms of economic impact on the town based on a normal occupation rate for this area? I would be curious to see what that is, to know and let other people know, but also to see what influence, if any, that has on what our position is or could be.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Joseph, too. I think Paul and I have been involved the longest. This started when I was on the planning board with Mr. Breyer. One thing I'm glad about, the scope of the project is kind of scaled back a little. At one time, it was going to be 112, then
Yeah.
124, some one bedroom, some two. Then all of a sudden, there was going to be threes, because if you recall, about a year or so, the guy was here saying, we found extra space. They were going to squeeze a few more units in.
it had a floor.
Yeah, they wanted to
yeah.
go higher, and the chief said no because of the ladder, but it's, I mean, I like the fact that they've kind of scaled it back a little. I like the fact we got a professional company, but I just happened to put it on because I knew the meeting was on. It just kind of caught me way off guard that they were even hinting that the town, I didn't want to see us get behind an 8 ball before we even started the game, like. So
Well, it took a long time to get them to commit to commercial space, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and the
That
portion,
was years in the making.
right, and the portion is, I think they're setting aside 30,000 for potential. I mean, right, at this point, I don't think they even have a tenant for that portion. So, yes, they're setting it aside in the initial proposal, but there is no, like, Tri-Valley, for example, that's ready to grab that space.
Right.
So, I think Paul's hit the nail on the head. We should see what kind of demographics and what it's gonna do, impact on the town.
Well, yeah, it's gonna, more people in one place, right? It's gonna be a drain on some resources, police, fire, school, right? So it's a big,
Yeah, is that likely to spawn any nearby neighborhood business establishments? I'd be curious, the more knowledge we have, the more ability we have to control the impact it has on the town.
But, Mr. Chair, too, like I said, I think keeping Greg involved, but it actually was a very good meeting. I think the planning board was on top of it. They had, all the members had some real good questions and some good ideas. And like I said, it's nice to see a professional company that knows what they're doing. But the planning board was definitely on the ball. Just when the information started coming forward that didn't match to what myself and the town administrator had talked about, just kind of put a couple red flags up.
no, it's good. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you for addressing it.
No problem, thank you. Greg,
Just-
anything else?
Just one last thing. You and the public may have noticed that we've been really cold in this building for a while. And we had some burnt wires that we discovered today. So those burnt wires have been repaired. That should provide us with a little bit of heat. And then we have the improvements that were approved at town meeting for the replacement of the heat pumps, which are located on the roof of the building. So when people see a crane here, we're not knocking down the building, we're replacing the pumps on the top of the building, which is where they're located. So it's not a small job that can be done on a weekend
No.
or an overnight.
No, and what about the, outside? I saw a 30-foot jet of water
Yeah,
flying up in the air.
so we have we have a chiller unit outside, and
It was cold, I'm like, is that water?
yeah, so
water the grass.
that unit's been problematic for a while, going back to the days
Like a
of-
pressure relief valve let go.
going back to the days of Peter Jankowski, that's been a problem. The cost of upgrading that could be $45,000 replacing it. One of the things we're gonna look at, and I've already looked at it with Danny, is something called performance contracting, where we would look to put in an energy efficient unit and use the savings and energy costs to pay off the debt service costs associated with that project, which means there's no net cost to the town. But that will need to be addressed at Springtown meeting. Just letting everyone know. Thank you.
Definitely, thank you, Greg. All right, we have no around town. Then item 7, we have one public hearing. We're we tried to do this a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't have a quorum, but looking to transfer wine and malt license for new officers, directors, and a new manager for Dudley House of Pizza, Inc., does business as Dudley House of Pizza, to St. Philo Patier and St. Anthony, Inc., does business as Dudley House of Pizza. The new manager will be Shinoba Basilius. New officers and directors, Shinoba Basilius and Mihat Botros. So we had opened the public hearing at 6:17 on October 30th, and
Mr. Sullivan's recusing himself.
we continued at 6:21 because we didn't have a quorum.
So are you declaring
We're gonna
the public hearing reopened at
Reopened.
this time?
at this time,
Which is what time?
which is 6:57,
All right, thank you.
and Mr. Sullivan will recuse himself as per normal. Okay, come on up. All right, how's it going? Good to see you again.
Let's see.
And can you let everybody know what we're doing and your
Just to transfer the beer warrant license. The guys he has it before. That was his name is Sam. Yes. So after I get the store, so I gonna get the transfer the beer or wine license. Try to make it without, but some people they has to sit down. They get some drink, some beer, and with the food. So I say it's okay. So I put the paper front of you.
Are you Shinaba?
Shinuda.
Shinuba?
Shinuda.
oh, Shenandoah, okay.
Shenod
DA.
as in David?
Yes.
Oh, okay, we got a B here. Shinova.
Shinova.
Is it a D, Mish?
I'm
Okay.
sorry, there's a D.
Okay. I just don't want to call out the name and have him look around because you think we're calling somebody else.
I spelled it right.
No, it's correct on the,
Did you buy the business from Simon?
Yes.
You have.
It's right on.
And have you now taken it over?
I
Not-
take over already.
All right, but not with the liquor license
Not with
yet.
the liquor license. I
All
take
right.
without liquor license.
Now, this says that the name of the company is Saint
San Philopati
Philopatia
and San Anthony
Inc.
Inc.
How did that name come about?
I tell you, my San Philopati,
Yeah.
it's like as a saint, whatever. But anyway, my son, his name is it's Philo or Philopati.
Philo, okay.
Yes. And this one, it's Greek name and Orthodox name, whatever. And Saint Anthony, I think everybody knows it's Saint Anthony. It's my partner, son. So I try to make it Saint Maria, whatever.
That's
I
pretty
say
good.
a lot of business by the same, the same name. So
Yeah.
please change it. So I
That
make
is
a
pretty
comment
good.
there.
Now, did you ask if he has, what experience he has in terms of operating a pizza parlor restaurant?
We did the other day, but last time he was here, real
Yes.
quick, we did. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
He does.
So
go ahead.
with the
Your past experience running a,
Yes, yes. I work with that place for so long time anyway.
You did.
Yes, I have I work with him for 2008.
Okay. Do you plan on, one more question, I'm sorry.
sorry, Paul?
Do you plan on making any changes to the operation that Simon had when he sold you the business?
I changed for what, like as a the kind
Physical
of the
changes
food
or
for
anything?
this and this, and no change. Everything the same. Maybe we're gonna add it little bit different stuff, like whatever. He never have the Alfredo sauce, whatever, chicken broccoli Alfredo, shrimp broccoli Alfredo, some stuff in the shaco, whatever, as the grilled, like barbecue ribs or steak tips or some stuff like this as a restaurant. He used the stuff as a restaurant, but all the stuff, it's the pizza place, not
Yep.
the restaurant. So I try to add some stuff for restaurant, whatever, more seafood.
Well, I want you to know simply that Simon was a good businessman and a good member of the Dudley community.
I will keep it the same.
Very, very good man.
I'm not gonna make it more or less. I got it because I know, like, I work. That's why I work like so many years before with him. So
Good.
I learn from him, and I learn from the other people too, how to get the business.
I'm sure he
good.
taught you well.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? Everything's all, paperwork we already know is all set, right? You guys, he had to do the square footage stuff, right, for you? I remember he measured the,
You have to mention, yeah, he'll do that.
he did all that, okay. All right, anything else? Anybody have any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll close the public hearing at 7:02 PM. Okay, what's the
Chairman?
board's pleasure, Mr. Ruda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer of wine and malt license to the new officers, directors / new manager of Dudley House of Pizza, Inc., DBA Dudley House of Pizza, to St. Philipatier and St. Anthony Incorporated, DBA Dudley House of Pizza, the new manager being Shinoda Basilius.
Second.
New officers and directors, the same. Public hearing is now closed. Go ahead.
Okay,
I so
motion by Mr. Ruda, seconded by Mr. Joseph. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0, one abstention. Michelle, please. Let the record show Mr. Sullivan, recusal, excuse me. Thank you, Steve. No, Steve, returned at 7:03.
All these years we've been calling you a recluse.
Yeah, I'm a
right.
recluse.
All right, so we'll get that signed for him. Now we'll move on to public business in section 8. Item 8A, Richard Majerzik, Shaw Majerzik Funeral Home, would like to make a request for a section of Corbin Cemetery to be used for the interment of any resident, indigent veteran, called veteran lots for cremations only. Anybody here from that group, or?
Can you talk about this, Greg?
Mr. Rogerson, do you,
I can't, no.
can you speak to this, or?
I speak a little.
Okay, yeah, come on. Yeah,
Michelle just advised me about this last week.
Okay.
No veterans
Shall
week
we
going on. I haven't had any conversation
Sorry, you have to wait a second.
Okay.
with Richard at all about this. I can go ahead and do that after this meeting, but I haven't talked to him personally.
Nor have I.
A motion to
Good, a lot of
table.
communities do this. They put a section.
All right, Mr. Joseph?
Can I simply ask that we,
Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
That we
motion
ta-
to table? He said we're gonna table it then. Wanna just-
You made a motion to table.
Bring it over.
well, that's what I'm gonna do, I'll make a motion to table.
He just, what he just said.
You did that?
Yes,
I
sir.
seconded it.
Then I'm gonna third it, but I'm going to ask that the motion to table include a request that, together with Greg, that you come up with a proposal for how you think this ought to be operated.
Sure.
All right, our guidelines
Sure.
for us to deal with. And
No
that's my
objection.
only request.
No objection from me.
Objection? Okay. Consider it tabled.
Was he notified to be here tonight?
No, that's okay. We'll
Something
handle it
could've
next
came
time.
Bring them next
I'll
time.
reach out to him.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That way you'll
Thank
be
you.
on the same page next
Sure,
time.
no problem.
Thank you, Steve.
Want to clarify that my comments was not a discussion on the motion to table, because that's not debatable. It was merely to ask that the original mover have that as part of their motion.
Okay? Thank you. Item 8B, we have the tree lighting ceremony, Wednesday, December 6, 2017 at 6 PM. Greg, Michelle?
You have a copy of the invitation that's in your packet.
Okay.
So we would ask the board to so endorse that date.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay, is that a motion, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan,
Second.
second by Mr. Ruda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Sullivan?
through you, through the town administrator, through Access, we accept any and all volunteers. We encourage anybody in the community that wants to participate to contact our office. If we can get the band down here, if we can get anybody to escort Santa and stay and help, we'll take any, I'm sure Michelle will take any and all help that can be provided.
And there's the
Pizza.
driving force right there
Oh, people don't understand.
behind that program. So I think that Greg ought to consider, hope this doesn't violate any union contract, giving Michelle some comp time for all the time she's gonna put in on this thing.
Good thing is Michelle's not in the union.
Yeah.
Do we have a recreation committee, Mr. Chairman, that could
We do?
help? That
They
would
might be able to
available
help.
Michelle?
Michelle
To
does
the
have some
extent
help.
that she requires.
She does
me?
have some helpers.
Okay.
Yeah, there is some
elves?
elves. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Notice she might be coming to see you about that, too. You might.
We get all of the
Yep. We usually hit them all.
businesses in town
Yeah.
to participate.
Couple of pizzas.
Pizza.
It's a good time to try your product out.
Yep.
Show the people
Yep.
who you are.
Did we vote on this?
Showcase it.
Yep. Yeah, showcase it.
Yes, we did.
We did.
Good
Okay.
boy, I ate a lot of pizza.
That's always a fun event, so.
That I pay for.
Thursday, December 6th at 6 PM. Come see the tree lighting. Okay? All right, item 8C, Sarah White is here with Hands, helping address the needs of Dudley seniors. Come on up, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah, Sarah.
She's requesting to set up a table during the tree lighting ceremony, as usual, on December 6th, 2017. Hi, Sarah.
Correct, yes. That would be, it would be an informational table with pamphlets explaining what HANDS is, and also a great big donation jar that we're hoping will get filled.
Awesome.
Chairman, I'm going to
Mr.
move
Joseph?
that we grant Hands, helping address the needs of Dudley seniors, that we grant their request to set up a table during the tree lighting ceremony.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. Discussion?
Thank you.
Mary.
We've done this once before. We were put in the lobby.
Yep.
I mean, wherever you need to put us is fine.
Now, I think if it's warm enough, we should put you outside.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that.
Yeah.
You can sit at the table, okay?
He's on the board. He's on the board of directors.
He's on the
right?
board, that's
Yep.
right.
Go by age.
He might know
Oldest guy
people,
outside.
right? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thanks, Sarah, as always.
Thank you, Sarah.
All the work you do with that. Okay, item 8D, our great friend John Breyer, the chairman of the Economic Development Committee, is here tonight. Share some survey results and also talk about some website partnerships with real estate agencies. Hi, John.
How are you?
Good.
Hello.
I'll start with, just a reminder to pass that.
I have a couple of things. The first thing was the real estate agency web partnership for the website. We brought up last January, it was tabled. You guys got busy with your stuff, we got busy with our stuff. But I guess there's some requests for some properties to start being listed on the town website. The reason why we need action from the Board of Selectmen to approve this is because we want to do a solicitation. We want to have a fair, transparent process. You know, we don't want to say, okay, look, we're going to give it to this real estate agency or that real estate agency. We want to go through a bid process. And that's basically what this is here. We establish a minimum bid of at least $500, which is the current going rate for the businesses that advertise on the website today. And anything above $500, it'll be the best deal for the town of Dudley. And all we want to do is there's some basic things that we need this real estate agency to be able to do. They need to tie into our website with live feeds for whether it's residential listings, commercial listings, so that if someone says, okay, what properties are available in Dudley to be developed, boom, it automatically feeds real time into our website. So they have to have the capability of having their MLS system through some sort of an API feed into our system. If someone's looking for a house in Dudley, to be able to look, oh, what properties are available? And again, the winning real estate agency would be tied into there, so their listings or whatever they want would show up. So,
So this is an open.
need your approval so we can do a formal solicitation. I think we had February 10th, 2017. We changed the dates on it. I just, resurrected this from the winter.
Yep.
But I'd work with the town administrator to make sure everything is exactly how it needs to be.
That's why it looks very familiar to me when I look at it again.
Yeah, fair enough. All right? So if you can at least authorize the town administrator to work with us and to move forward with this tonight, that'd be great. And then I've got the survey stuff next.
Mr. Chair, in the absence of any objection from the board, I make a motion that we allow this to proceed to at least to the discussion phase with the town administrator to finalize and firm up a proposal for us.
Second.
Is that okay?
Fair enough.
Motion by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Any other discussion?
I just want to, Greg, could you at some point, because my wife is a real estate agent, figure out if when and I should stop voting on this in the event that her firm becomes a bidding?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just abstain right now.
I'm going to abstain.
Yeah.
Just to be on the safe side.
All right.
My brother's a real estate agent. Not too bad.
Does this mean if a RE/MAX agency puts in the most desirable proposal, that no other real estate agency can list?
Exactly. What would happen is we would tie into that RE/MAX's MLS feed. So whatever's feeding probably their own home website is what would feed our website as well. Now, I'm sure, if you go to a RE/MAX agent, that there are going to be other listings there done by other brokers, but it's the same way it's disguised on the RE/MAX site, it'll be disguised on ours. So the RE/MAX agent there, it's going to be their contact information. It's going to be their stuff that people see when they're responding to a property.
I like the idea very much. I have a concern about excluding other Dudley residents who may be realtors in town actively for a company that doesn't win the bid. That's my concern. And I'm wondering if,
Well, then they should bid very aggressively on
well,
this.
but the fact remains that after the World Series, there's only one winner. And after this proposal, there will only be one winner. And I would like to see us consider some means of lesser one-shot or per-shot opportunities for Dudley residents who are realtors to be able to list something. Not with the same kind of exposure and agreement. That's number one. For example, we've got some phenomenal realtors who work for different RE/MAX agencies. We've got local realtors who are self-employed. And there's others, we have a lot of realtors in town who actively sell property in town. And I have a concern about slighting some of them if they don't have the resources to be a high bidder, highest bidder. So I would like us to think about a two-tier
Can't do it.
setup.
Can't do it. And that's simply because
Why?
in order to feed the listings, you can only have one API feed. It's basically
Application programming interface.
one computer speaking to another, feeding those listings. You can't do multiple into it and prioritize. You probably could if the town wanted to spend 15, 20 grand to do it.
But could we not permit advertising on a one-term, one-shot basis with just a hyperlink?
Our website does allow for ads today. So on our website today, we have two sponsors.
Yep.
Pro Automotive, which is actually featured on the website today as the business, under the business spotlight. And we have O'Connor Insurance.
Yeah.
That has been available, for as long as I've been involved, and even before that, Deb had it going on the website. So for $500, any real estate agency can have their logo there. And that's been public information.
Okay.
I'm not here to try to, worry about slighting a real estate agent. They're in business. If they want to be on the town's website, let them bid. Let them
Okay.
pay for it.
So there are opportunities for someone who may not be the highest bidder in this proposal, town residents who are active realtors in town, and I have no one in particular because I have no idea
Yep.
who's going to bid and who's going to get it, all right? That's not important to me. But if we've got active residents who sell and handle a lot of property in town, but can't afford to be the high bidder, I want to be sure that we provide them an opportunity less than this, because there's got to be an attractiveness to this.
Well, there'll never be an
Cause people to
opportunity
make the
less than,
proposal.
yeah, there'll never be an opportunity less than $500 a year, because that's the rate on our website
For a
today.
listing?
No,
Gonna be an
that's for their business. Now, as far as them being able to list individual properties,
Yep.
we have to do one, it has to go to one, winner take all. You have to feed
I
that
don't know
in.
if I like that, John.
Yeah, and that's why you guys will have to authorize it or not.
Yeah.
You don't, if you want to have a discussion down the road, amongst yourselves, but one way or the other, we need to know what to do here.
It's a great idea, and I don't want us to see us not do it, but I want to see us be able to provide a solution, some opportunities for realtors, other realtors, who may not be the high bidder, to be able to promote town property that they're selling on our webpage. And I can't imagine that it can't be done. I'm assuming it can be done, but it's got to be done not the way that we're going to award this proposal.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
yeah, and again, the proposal was set up for really two sections, the residential section and the commercial section,
I see that.
all right? And that's because it's going to be a separate unique feed for the residential listings and a separate unique feed for the commercial listings.
But whoever gets this, wins this proposal, has the right to this exclusive for both residential and commercial, industrial, farming, et cetera, right? It pretty much puts a lock on them,
Yeah,
and it's 1 year with 2 years extension. So we could be locking out town residents, active realtors in town, for 3 years. I want to know,
that's why they should really bid high.
well, I mean, I understand that, all right? But I don't think that should be our only source of income in terms of real estate. I'm just asking you to look at it in a way that we will not exclude some people, even if it's $250 for lesser ability. I don't care. I don't know. I just don't want to abide the principle of ruling people out. And then my question is, there's a 1-year contract with 2 options. I'm not sure it says 2 options. I think it says something about, 2 1-year renewals.
Yep.
Is that solely at our request, or can they request a renewal? And what are the grounds upon which we can not exercise or choose to not exercise one of the renewals?
Well, most renewals are mutual.
Yeah, but the law says that if the town doesn't want to renew, then we don't have to renew. So the law puts it on the town.
And does it say the grounds upon which we can do that? And here's what I'm asking.
I understand.
Right? If a company wins it, and they decide to invest X number of dollars to fulfill a 3-year commitment, and after the first year, we say, we don't like the colors of your logo, or any other reason, we want to be sure that they can't then turn around and sue us for 2/3 of what they put in for cost to accommodate the website. I'm just have a concern about that.
Well, that would be, that would really be the role of the town administrator. Once it was
purchasing
awarded, right?
agent.
Once you enter the agreement, the town administrator to make sure that we're legally covered with the terms and conditions and everything that's mutually acceptable.
I would want to know what those are.
Well, the good thing, Mr. Chair, I think, the way the.
I'm in favor of this, believe me.
Yeah, the way the motion said it was, we
Bring
can
back-
move to talk about.
Yeah, bring
doing
back
this.
information.
Honestly, I don't want this to take forever because we're making great progress. They've put a lot of work in it. I'd love to see some of this stuff put in
And
as soon as possible.
Mr. Chair, I think you hit the nail on the head, and Mr. Breyer did too. Real estate company A gives us 1,000, we'll just say. They're the featured one. Real estate company B can still get in on the 500, have their logo there. They just
an
won't.
ad.
They won't be linked.
As an ad.
Exactly. They'll
that's how
have an
web
ad,
pages
but their listings will not show up on the website.
Like, for example, the companies that John referenced before, one of them, O'Connor's,
Yep.
has been on our website for a long time.
Forever, yeah.
And that would not preclude any other insurance agent to do the same thing, a
Right.
$500 ad, just not a link. You'll have your ad. We're not endorsing them, obviously.
If they choose to spend some of their marketing dollars on advertising through our website, then so be it. I agree with you 100%, John.
So the
Okay, I
good,
mean, the questions I've asked have yielded
Yeah.
information that I wanted to hear.
Yep.
And I also wanted to make my feelings known, that we need to be sure that we provide accommodations for any business person in town who wants to use our website to advertise. That's all. And I'm comfortable with that.
I mean, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure how, like you said, this committee has been unbelievably active in the last year. And I mean, not that we have a lot of restaurants per se, but I mean, if you could feature a link someday to maybe the gentleman just left, I mean, it's a pizza pile, but people eat and they're always busy. But if they don't get that bid, then the other pizza pile can still buy an ad and.
Well,
on
to
our
that
website.
point, I mean, I can still consider that economic development, right?
course.
Because the more people who go there, the more money
Right.
revenue.
Absolutely.
The town takes in. And isn't that the purview of the planner? That's part of that role there?
Well-
Maybe working with some of the local businesses to remind them, hey, you have this at your disposal to, put this on the website, and people go there, and here's how many hits we have and visitors, and,
Yeah, there is a section where we list all the businesses free of charge right now.
yeah.
It's under different opportunities, so if someone's looking for a dining opportunity,
I know, I've seen it.
Pizza is gonna be listed there and stuff. Our goal, what we want to do is we want to make sure that everything we do is revenue positive for the town, all right? It's not about the bid. What our goal here is that if someone is looking for a piece of property to open a restaurant or to build something, that they have a real-time listing on that website.
Oh, absolutely.
That shows what's available. That's what our goal is.
Well, I've raised my philosophical concerns, and I hope that anyone who sees this meeting or who hears about it, who does not provide the best proposal, will in fact be aware that there are other alternatives for them to use the town website. That's what I wanted to do.
And Mr. Chair, to go back to your comment,
Yep.
when the planner's job was reconstructed, unfortunately, I was out on a couple of those meetings, and the board at the time dropped it from 40 hours to 20?
20, it's actually 19 right now.
19, and you folks that created the new job description clearly put in there economic development was supposed to be part of the planner's purview, and and thrust of part of his position, and he doesn't report to us, reports to the planning board, and Greg's very involved, obviously. I would be interested to see, especially based on the reduction of hours, how much has actually gotten done towards the emphasis you folks put on that position.
It's a great,
That's not a,
No.
that's not a under the bus thing, it's just, it was crafted and created and drafted and interviewed and hired, and we should have some kind of background or some kind of body of work that can be analyzed and looked at.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
We have a motion and a second, I believe.
motion a second, we were
I thought we were just finishing up the comment section, sorry.
Huh?
I thought we were finishing up the comment
Yeah, we were.
section, sorry.
Right, that's okay. No, there's a lot of good stuff. Shell, there was a motion by, I think,
Myself.
yeah, Steve, and then Jonathan seconded, so, okay. Anything else, guys?
No, I didn't second it.
He didn't, I did.
Oh, Carrie, I'm sorry. Sorry. you
He
did the
abstained,
wrong
I believe.
one. He's good.
AC.
Yeah, AC.
All right,
There's no shorthand. for
nothing else, we'll
Simonavich.
call
That's
that
right.
to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
1.
Okay, so John, 4-0, 1
Now,
abstention.
now the fun stuff. The survey.
Ah, the fun stuff. Thank you, John.
Hey, Mr. Chair, while Mr. Breyer hands out the survey,
Yep.
I want you to, I hope everyone took the survey, but I did take it online.
I would just ask,
whatever you want.
try not to read ahead. We'll go through this really quick because it's pretty fun, and normally you want to read the comments.
But I
All
did
right.
take, I did take it online. I hope everyone.
Verbatims, you get the verbatims in there?
For the opportunity, it was a good survey.
Just to let you know, originally, the reason why the survey came around rather quickly was we were trying to get about 10 hours out of CMRPC, figure out, they had 10 hours invested in order to do what's called a public forum, which would be have everyone come in, do a presentation, and to get input. As a board, we decided that we wanted CMRPC to spend that extra 10 hours, not on a public forum, but researching what's the best way to get our agricultural lands out of hibernation and what programs are available. So, but we wanted to be very transparent. We still wanted formal public opinion. So we created the survey. We went out there, added a module to the website. The total votes that we had on this were 229. Now, first and foremost, the people of Dudley, really top quality. A lot of people really took their time and put some thought into their comments and questions and their answers. And I want to thank them for doing that. It's only because of them that we kind of know what to do moving forward. So predominantly, it was 93.45% of the respondents were Dudley residents. Greatest assets, top 3, the educational system, low tax rate, and the natural habitat. And you can see the details. Comments for that question are at the bottom, all right? The weaknesses, I got a kick out of a couple of the respondents.
Yeah, I see that.
Every survey, you get a couple of nuts response.
So did mine.
But really, it was literally just a couple. But this was, and most of them were out of not residents of Dudley that did the nutty responses.
Oh, I know who
But
I would inept, myopic.
so the
leadership.
greatest weaknesses,
I tend to agree
overwhelmingly
with
lack
number
of
11.
local jobs, recreational opportunities, and our location. Recreational opportunities is a consistent theme that continues to come up. You know, we have that theme, live, work, and play. I think as part of that economic development plan, there's going to be a whole chapter dedicated to what we can do on the recreation side and that play side. What should be their top economic development priorities? Overwhelmingly, turning our dormant agricultural land into active farms, wineries, and craft breweries. And then revitalize West Main Street and create a restaurant district. That's what our plan is going to be focused on, those top 3. And the good news is, it was in sync with what we were hearing and kind of going along all the way. This just gave us some confirmation on what we had been, listening to. The
High school.
next question, where should town officials concentrate their economic development efforts? West Main Street. All right, almost 50% of the vote there. And the good news is the infrastructure's there to the courthouse. So it's shovel-ready. Next one is Schofield Avenue, from Route 12 West Main to the Connecticut line.
Webster is creeping in.
Those are the top two areas where we should be focusing. What do you see as the major benefits of encouraging business industrial development in Dudley? Right, more in-town jobs, overwhelmingly, more tax revenues to help improve municipal services, and an economically strong Dudley will give residents better government services. The common theme here is not maintenance, but improvement. People want to see improvement. The old Stephen Linen Mill. Boy, did this come in handy when that project the other day. So we asked people, what would you like to see done with the old Stevens Linen Mill? Overwhelmingly should be converted to commercial mixed use or low impact industrial uses. The next one was converted into private sale condos with no tax breaks from the town, and converted into private sale condos with tax breaks from the town. I pointed out to them that their proposal the other day actually ranked the lowest there, which was converted into low-income housing by a private developer with tax breaks from the town. That got 1% of the vote. All right. The good news is on their proposal, right, $40 million, 92 units, is $450,000 per unit. So if we charge normal tax rates on $450,000, you know, it could be an extra $400,000 a year, but no tax breaks. In-home occupations. One of the things we really want to do here is modernize our use regulations. And so first question we asked was, do you have any problems with in-home occupations as it's written in today? And 64% didn't have any problems. The next one is, as more people shop online, traditional retail businesses are struggling. Would you support broadening the definition? The number of 10 cars per day is an arbitrary number. We had to start somewhere. But overwhelmingly, people are willing to expand the use of in-home occupation for this question and also for tradespeople. So the question is as the town moves forward, how do you actually do that? How do you do it where it's the least impact on those people for privacy and things along those lines? Then we asked about Airbnb regulations. Overwhelmingly, people support Airbnb, bed and breakfast, being built in Dudley, in residential districts as well, as long as the regulations are good. Give you an idea for your marijuana permits. We had a question, how many marijuana retail store permits should Dudley issue? You can see. 37.5% said 0. The rest, combination from 2 up to 4. And you had 11% said do not limit at all. So that kind of gives you the feel of people when that comes around. We asked about a theme, right? Sturbridge, Plymouth's got a theme. Should Dudley have a theme? We don't need a theme. This one here addresses the elephant in the room, I call it. The overwhelming majority of cities and towns across the United States break down their property tax bills into 2 separate tax bills. All right, one for the local government and one for the school system. The benefit of separating them out is that residents have greater knowledge of where their taxes are going and can also vote to increase one without increasing the other. Would you support Dudley breaking down their tax rate into 2 categories? Now, the interesting thing is after we came out with the survey, the auditor, I think it was Suzanne Bump, came out with their own independent report that absolutely recommends that the Commonwealth move towards this system, especially for cities and towns with regional school districts. And the way you have to look at it is you're all part of the same family, town of Dudley, right? And you're a brother and you're a sister. If you're the brother and you keep saving your money and your sister's saving their money and the brother runs out of money, he can't go into the sister's piggy bank to get that money. You got to keep things separate. And the reason why it's important for the town is because if you have a $400,000 or $500,000 surplus, you need to apply that towards capital improvement or whatever it might be down the road. And the school, the same thing. Now, on the school side of things, the other part of this, the auditor's report was that the legislature really needs to step up here and redo and rethink their funding for the school funding. Because it's just, you're putting too many school districts at a disadvantage. So the good news is here is overwhelmingly people support the change. A lot of people would like more information on the pros and cons of it. So I think this is something that at the end of the day is probably going to have to be tackled by the Board of Selectmen with your state senators and state reps. And let's look at this auditor report, and let's see if Dudley can be the town in Massachusetts that makes this happen, either through legislative support, or if it happens, I'll run it. You know, we'll do a ballot initiative and get it approved statewide. But every city and town has this same issue. So the next thing is, do you approve town funds to upgrade existing infrastructure? Overwhelmingly, people just said yes, as long as it's part of an overall strategy and it must produce new revenue for the town. Design guidelines.
Interesting comment on that one, John.
Yeah. Do you want, you know, design guidelines for regarding appearance of storefronts and businesses signage? 59% of the people said yes. So we specifically said guidelines and not regulations, because you want to have flexibility. I mean, have those suggested guidelines, but be flexible enough so that if a large national franchise does come in and they have their own design standards, that you're accommodating to them. And I think if you ask people, or especially businesses, to conform to a guideline, or that by doing this guideline, it helps the town voluntarily, I think most businesses will do that. It's the right thing to do. The next thing is unfunded mandates, right? So what does the town do? What does the school department do when we just don't have enough money? And so 32% of the people said, you know, ask taxpayers for a one-time permanent tax increase to get all programs and departments to proper funding levels. And then 22% said cut programs and services in order to stay within current town and school budgets. A lot of people didn't have an opinion on it. I think if it's part of an overall plan and strategy, the people of Dudley will step up and do what they think is the right thing to do. But it's got to be part of an overall comprehensive plan. It can't be $2 now, $2 next year, $3 the following year. It's got to solve the issue. Do you like living in Dudley? Almost 91% of the people do. The one thought, the next ones are comments, right? If you could share one thought to all the town of Dudley officials and employees, what would that be? There were an amazing number of people who thanked you and all the town employees for the work you do. Most of the work is done by volunteers. People do recognize that. So I thought that was very encouraging. You know, people really took some time in there and gave some good input. Read it. You know,
I think we have a policy for number 8 now.
And the same thing with the last question, if you could attract, you know, what's the one thing you would do to attract and retain good companies to locate themselves? You see a bunch of comments. So we'll be presenting this, you know, we'll be incorporating this as part of the 5-year economic development plan. Kerry, I want to thank you. It was one of our earlier hearings where you kind of opened our eyes to the whole craft brewery industry there, and even the research that we're doing there. There's a lot more money in hops and barley and than just hay. You know, in trying to get our agricultural lands undormant, we're going to have to get both the feds and the state involved there, because right now my understanding is as long as you just show $1,600 a year in income, you can get the APR protections and the lower tax rates. What our concern is that people are using APR as a tax shelter. So you have a bunch of land that's APR that really isn't being farmed, trees are growing on it, and because it's APR, right, they get the lower tax rate. Then if they sell it off for development, all they have to do is pay the back taxes. That's got to stop, and we need the state, again, to step up with that. So there's got to be an economic advantage to making this farmland active again, rather than just sitting there. Mm-hmm. So that's all I have. It took up a lot of time. Any questions?
I think this is great work, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I'd like to do is see how this stacks up against the existing data we have, where we've actually had townwide votes about things like marijuana dispensaries and tax increases and so forth, and see how that data actually stacks up against what we collected in this survey, because there's a lot of, to me, I saw a lot of things that just don't seem compatible with the data that we have right now. I mean, we kind of operate based on certain assumptions, so this small cross-section kind of blows some of them out of the water.
Yeah, and it is a small cross-section.
Yeah, I know, but it gives us, those are the people who are interested, right? Who actually went ahead and took the survey. So those are generally the people who show up.
Yeah,
That we would, you know.
And I'd like to thank Michelle, Karen at the library, Margaret at the senior center. They printed out copies for those that didn't have computers. So I spent, some time typing them all in, because we wanted to make sure that it just weren't people that had access to online system, that we got an input from anybody that wanted to give their input.
Would it be Mr. Chairman, would it be a big chore to put this in graph form and like publicize it?
We actually have it in charts. What I'll do is I'll throw the actual results. I'll put a PDF format with the charts and also this one online.
That's great.
And that way anybody can see it if they want to look at it.
Mr. Chair, I took just a quick look at some of the comments, and
I knew that was coming.
some of them, I'm sure they weren't meant to be comical, but some of them speak to maybe the fact we don't get our message out, because some of the things they're suggesting we already do. We being town employees and officials. So maybe we don't do a good enough job getting that information out, and things like this survey and PDF, and, all this stuff can only help. And as you said before, I think we all agree, this committee has been extremely active, extremely positive, getting the message out about the town of Dudley, and it's nowhere to go but up. I mean, John said it best, most of these positions are staffed by volunteers and people that do it, and like John just said, because they care.
And you can also quickly recognize the troll responses too. It's
Right.
it's like, yeah, this person cares, this person's insane.
Right. Some people just,
It puts the humor into things.
right.
Well, I mean, the thing, just the other than the troll comments, which some of them are definitely in there, but the theme I see for the overall, like what people should do is people support moving the town forward.
Yeah.
We've done, again, we do a lot with what we have. That's another common theme, but is also like people want to see more. A town center, like with our own stuff. One that stuck out, be more like Putnam, not another town, right? Because Putnam took all their old buildings and turned it into restaurants, and now people go there, right? Everybody has to leave Dudley. We want to bring people in, right? So this was it's eye-opening in many ways, but it's good to see that people see that that's what needs to happen.
And as far as the future timeframes, on the 29th of November, CMRPC we have a joint meeting with the planning board. You're more than welcome to attend as well. They're going to present their own SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats kind of thing.
Yep.
And then they should have their plan done at the end of the year. What our goal is to take their stuff, take our stuff that we've done independently, and coordinate it into one overall plan. Probably March, April. And I know we're not required to have the plan approved at town meeting, but I think symbolically, we may, in the Springtown meeting, ask that the town meet and vote on the plan, so that everybody has buy-in.
At least present it, and do non-binding or whatever.
Yeah. So, other than that, I'll let you.
John,
Thank you.
thank you, man.
Thank you,
I think we got to clap. I mean, there's a lot of work for that. I'm clapping. Long time coming. Thank you. Wow. Thanks to everybody on that team. Item 8E, we had a municipal positions moratorium we started discussing on October 16th. Greg? Or is this was John? Okay. Public safety. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think I'm the one who originally brought it up.
Okay, go ahead,
And
Steve.
obviously, I agree with public safety. If we have an issue, we need to fill. And again, I just go back to the article that was in the local newspaper, and I actually went back to reread it because I believe someone said that either I or the board took it out of context, and I reread it, and I saw the same thing I saw before. There was a in-depth discussion, apparently, at the library about creating a new position, and there was other alternatives offered about splitting jobs. But that's a resounding message that has come from the library before, and it was in that article. I did not misread it, that there's always been some talk about a second, my term, professional staff position, and I don't think we should be going down the road with any department at this time until we have our funding source. As I said before, you, I, and the town administrator, yourself and I, I'm sure how to phrase that, went to that joint meeting of the school committee, finance committees, and we got some really big numbers staring Dudley in the face, and they're big numbers. I don't know how to phrase it any other way. They're not going to go away. Mr. Balkunas can probably speak on it a little bit better than I can, and they're only going to get worse. So I think the moratorium's a good idea. I mean, anybody who wants to advocate for new positions should have to come in anyway. Even if they don't, even if we only have budgetary oversight, we don't have supervisory oversight, we should be watching, as someone wrote in their little thing there, one of the comments I saw real quick, I think the people in, the officials in Dudley do a great job watching the money. So, that's all.
Nope. Well said, Steve. Anything else on that?
Mr. Chairman, just as a reminder for I noticed it said, I reminded everyone that public safety should be excluded. So, just to be very clear about that, what I'm talking about is new positions above and beyond what currently exists. In other words, if a vacancy comes available, then we'll fill it. Call, reserves, that's not a cost center, a big cost center. We should continue to fill those positions. But if there's gonna be a moratorium, it should level service fund at least public safety to what we have at this point.
Right, and I believe that was always the intent.
And when I say public safety, I include the highway department on that.
Okay. Anything else on that? Greg, anything to add?
No, nothing more to add.
Okay. All right, moving on. Thank you, guys. Item F, Jonathan, discrepancy in court filing dates.
Okay. So I have a memo in here to Selectmen asking for a couple of actions to be taken at this meeting. On October 10th, a article came out that discussed the motion to reconsider that was filed in the land court apparently on our behalf. What I noticed when the article came out was a discrepancy in the dates. One of the dates said October 28th it was filed, and it was prepared on October 26th. The discrepancy was that on September 25th in executive session, we were advised that the motion had already been filed. So, without going much further down the line than that, until we gather some more facts, I was going to ask the chairman to direct the town administrator, without objection from the board, to take 3 actions. The first action is for the town administrator to confirm the dates with the land court that appear on town council's motion for reconsideration. They're either the actual dates that the motion was prepared and physically filed, or they are not. The second action that I'm going to ask the chair to direct the town administrator to take is to confirm the dates with Mr. Brackett that appear on the motion, and to reconcile those dates. They are either the actual dates that the motion was prepared and filed, or they are not. And then finally, when we've got a handle on those dates in terms of their accuracy, let's place the matter back on the agenda for the next available meeting. I'd ask the chairman to go ahead without objection.
Yeah, we should make sure we understand those dates when they happen. Greg, if you could do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else on that, Jay?
Nope.
All right. All right, we'll move on to item 8G. Kerry, this is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, it
Parking on Village Street.
Since I've become a selectman, I've gotten more calls, texts, and in-person conversations about this issue than anything else. At the intersection of West Main and Village Street, the donut shop that's located there, people illegally parking on both sides of the street. It's gotten bad. We had I saw a picture of a tree truck with a trailer that was blocking the house across the road at the corner. I've seen pictures with as many as 3 cars there. And yesterday there was a bus. There was a school bus parked, and it was so far forward. It was out of a parking spot, and it was so far forward. You could see in the picture where the bumper was touching the crosses with flags at the memorial there. I don't know what the solution is, but I'm hoping we can come together for a solution on this. I understand, Chief, you guys are understaffed, you've got a couple people out, and I don't know what the answer is. I just wanted to bring this up so we could talk about it and figure something out, because at the town meeting, we just voted in a new left turn light there to basically make it safer for people to go down Village Street. They turn on Village Street and there's cars parked on either side and they can't go anywhere. We're gonna have an intersection plugged up. I just want to get in front of this before it happens. That's all. I don't know what the solution is. I have a couple things in mind, but
Let's talk about it.
I mean, we can't make Village Street one way. We can't do that. I just don't know. I don't know what else we can do. I know I've seen police officers there more than once moving people along, but they keep coming back. And even on Facebook, they're saying, there was one individual who says he parks there every day underneath one of the pictures. I don't know what the fine is for parking. I've never gotten a parking ticket in town, knock on wood. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. I just wanted to bring this up for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, last time we spoke about it,
Oh, good.
sorry, the chief, I think we posted one side of the street as opposed to both sides, and we were gonna reevaluate it at one point.
Yes, we posted the side of Village Street coming this direction, so we posted that side there. A couple things I can see is, and probably what we should do, is invite the owners of the establishment in at some point in these discussions. The lot itself, when it was designed, I don't think anybody anticipated the amount of business that was going to go through there. So that physical structure layout of the lot itself is not conducive to it at all. So there's a couple things I think we need to look at with that is, number one of the big issues we're seeing is people parking on the sidewalks. Everybody and their brother is just running in for a quick stop in there for a coffee, and I'm going, no, well, that's the same problem we have with everything is people are parking on the sidewalk and pulling up in different locations there quite a bit. So we probably have to look at something with working with them as far as some kind of either redesign of that area or expanding their parking lot in some way. I know at one point we had discussed taking that Memorial Square that was there and seeing if it could be put across the street over at Rite Aid. That was another option there, to maybe expand that area for them a little bit more, to put either more parking or do something better with that area there. Danny and I had discussed before too, what's some acceptable barriers or barricades or something that could be put up to prevent people from parking on the sidewalk. People just happen to pull up right there and stop and run in and block the sidewalk and everything at that point. So what's something acceptable that could go in that area that could prevent people from parking over there? Because you obviously don't want something to interfere with snow removal operations or something that's going to not be compliant with handicap and use of the sidewalk area there. So there's a number of things that we probably should discuss and get going in some way there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's every day.
One of our big things is I send people down that area to check on that quite often, but however, you can't post somebody there between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. every day, and you know, because people are coming running in and out of there all the time. So we're kind of running into this. We're doing similar things up at the college. People are just parking up there by the crosswalks and going about their business. So we've been tagging people up there too for all the different violations. So it's going on, but I think it would be something that we could really invite the owners of the business in and see how we can work with everybody to make something that's feasible for everybody that's there.
Mr. Sullivan.
I was gonna say, the chief kind of hit what I was gonna say. We definitely need to involve the owners. They're a victim of their own success. I think the chief also hit the main issue. I believe there was 5 waivers granted when they constructed that property. One of them was frontage and overall lot size. That's not their fault. The town granted that to them. And third, if we do engage the owners, maybe they can put some signage in their own store that would tell people what they can and can't do. And I understand the chief saying we can't have someone there for hours at a time, and people do go down and move them along, but at some point, it's gotta hurt. You know, the guy that, like, the tree truck or school bus, I mean, it's gotta hurt. Someone's gotta pay the price for either laziness, stupidity, or ignorance, pick the word you want to use. I mean,
School bus is a little much.
everybody in a commercial
And-
tree truck, I mean, like I said, I don't want to penalize the owner for their own success. And we definitely have to, I mean, I'm sure they know there's a problem. I mean, they bought the library off us, and they use the parking for their employees. And I don't think they want to encourage customers to park there, but I do see customers that do park there and walk across, so I think he's bringing up a great point. We all know it. It's a bad intersection. It always has been. I mean, I've worked in that intersection for 30 years, and I've probably seen 100 accidents, not before there was a donut shop across the street. People coming down the hill, jumping that light, cutting, it's had some issues before, and it's only gotten worse through the years. But I think, number one, we sit down with the owners. Maybe Mr. Sigenevis could be available. He can come in and sit with the administrator and the owners, and let's get the ball rolling.
Right, but we got to, again, we have to step up and maybe make it hurt a little bit, like he says, just, it's every morning. It's every morning. And something happened to me this morning coming in, I don't know if it was, was there any issues with that light today? And at Dippin' Donuts, going across West Main towards Schofield, I had a green light. There's people coming down West Main, about 10 cars. I had to slam on my brakes in the middle of an intersection. I don't know, there's two greens, and I'm looking up, and the guy coming from Webster was like, there's a green light. I could hear him. I'm like, I see that. So, I mean, this is like all being, I don't know if it's the people turning onto Schofield have a green, and they're turning, so they still think they can go. I don't know.
Usually the way that cycles is that the people coming from Webster have a longer green light.
Right.
So if you're coming down West Main Street, heading towards Webster and throwing pens,
Where the pen is.
going down this way, you get a red light, and
Yeah.
then the traffic coming up has a green light to allow people to turn left onto Schofield Avenue or continue up. So
I thought it was timely to talk about this, just because if there was, cars parked there, I wouldn't have had any time to I had to back up out of the intersection.
Sure.
Because about 12 cars kept on. I had to wait 2 8 cycles for it to
Again, the
go
biggest
through.
thing I think there too is it might be something where, again, working with the owners, that basically the whole area kind of gets widened in some way. So if the sidewalk, for example, were to be moved closer to the building and that lane is widened, it may take away some of the people parking on the sidewalks or different things that'll happen over there. There might be some redesign of the area that could be done. But I think a perfect point to them also is even their delivery truck. It pulls in and it goes up, I believe that's number 8 Village Street, I think is the apartment house right behind them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I've seen that.
Their
Yep.
delivery
It's
truck,
big.
is tractor trailer unit, pulls
Yep.
in and parks right there. So now that's right just adjacent to the drive-through exit,
Yeah.
where people are delivering into their store all their supplies. So, yeah, it's not designed for the volume of business that they're dealing with right there. So,
Mr. Zakowski. Actually, all right, go ahead, Mr. Clark.
If I may, I've observed on weekends in particular, a number of people trying to approach their drive-through from the Webster side. I mean, and they just shut that road down.
Right.
That's just a long line of non-moving vehicles, and I know that road is there and intended for access for everybody, but I mean, it becomes exclusively theirs for a good distance.
Yep.
I don't know what that causes in terms of
one of the things we had done when that was originally proposed, we recommended, and I believe the planning board supported, eliminating a left-hand turn out of the driveway, coming up where the drive-through entrance is. If you go into that side towards the Webster end, we had eliminated the left turn coming out of there. Because what we had found when it was the gas station even before, excuse me, people would be driving up from Webster, and right at that point, the lane split to the left turn lane for Schofield Avenue and the straight lane to head up West Main Street. And so what some people would be doing is exiting that lot, and straight traffic would stop and let them go, and then people would go around them to go make the left turn, and then the accidents would occur. So we eliminated that whole thing. So really, that whole area on Village Street is where all the traffic dumps out. Not only the drive-through traffic, but the regular traffic, people going into the store. Everybody goes out onto Village Street from there. So it is important to keep that area as clear as possible.
You get a lot of calls on that, Chief, or is it just patrols going by that?
Yeah, I don't get a lot of calls, I think, but it's more or less as we see it, because it is a heavily traveled area going through, so we'll check it as we see it, and we know it certainly is going to be an issue.
Can we, maybe something in the meantime, putting like barrels or like, you know, sawhorses or something on the sidewalk in the morning between hours? Because, just to prevent it, you know? Driving the kids to school, it's like every day I deal with this.
I see him on Main Street in Webster, and I'll walk into work, and I come out, and someone's hit it with a car. You know, it's in a crosswalk. And you can check with Webster guys, I mean, it's either pushed or knocked over, and that's what's gonna happen
Need
over
that
here.
coffee that bad?
Yeah, I yield to the highway superintendent. I think there should be something we can.
I'm just trying to think of
put
something
up there,
like in the
some type of
media.
barrier or something we can put up that prevents people from actually just parking on that sidewalk area.
Yeah.
It's a big spot.
Or, Scott?
Paul has something.
Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Paul.
So much of what we're talking about and what I've seen, and I'm there frequently, is anecdotal. That we don't know from when to when are the most violations occurring. Is it parking on the west side of Village, parking on the east side of Village? Is it only in the morning? How far, and I agree with Richard, how far is traffic backed up? Is there some sign? And when is it? Is there a warning sign that should be up there? You know, congested traffic, such and such a time. So I think we need a little more than anecdotal. I think our anecdotals are all gonna be correct, but it's kinda hit and miss. So I think we need a little more
We take pictures, Paul.
definitive data
That's not anecdotal.
about what times we need to do what kind of things. That's all I'm suggesting.
Fair. Go ahead,
So,
Scott.
again, Scott Sikowski, it's no secret I took the pictures. The
It's not
pictures
just
that you
you,
mentioned.
there's others.
Not just you.
That's
I
not
got,
just
I
you.
got blown up, well, that one of the tree truck.
That was you took that?
I got blown up big time for that on Facebook. In any case, that tree truck, the reason I took a picture of the front of it was because the bumper was right up against the no parking sign. Just poor decision-making. And the thing that wasn't in the picture was the chipper trailer behind it that was blocking the driveway of the residence that it was parked in front of. I made a comment when I walked in. The driver of the truck was standing there, just turned around, looked at me, grumbled a little something, and kept ordering his coffee. In any case, in my capacity as a water sewer commissioner, we, over the past couple of past year and a half or so, we've been working on replacing a water main up that road. And part of that was repaving it. Our superintendent worked with the highway superintendent to get that road paved, and it looks pretty good now. One of the things that I tried to get built into the road repair was actual curbstones along that stretch. It didn't happen. What they did is they put those kind of rolling curbs on that people can just drive over. If you've got a 4-inch, 3 or 4-inch, 5-inch curbstone there, people aren't going to drive over it. The park. That'll keep people off the sidewalk.
Here's a crazy question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sullivan?
I don't have the road regs in front of me, but we do have the superintendent present, who granted, because I believe the regs call for curbs. We have either the Cape Cod berm, but I believe it also calls for granite, because like the library put granite in. Who gave them permission not to? Who gave them permission to put the kind of curb in that they did? Did they go to you for that, Danny? Are they supposed to come to us? Because we're the commissioners.
I think that was the planning board, and I think what their idea at the time was, it's such a tight corner there that if they put curbstones in, their cars would be coming around that corner and probably hitting the curbs and blowing out tires. So they wanted to make it
Definitely be
a little more friendlier,
It
where
is
you had
tight.
the sloping curbing.
Oh, wood.
That if someone did come around a corner or get pushed over a little bit
Slow
there,
them
you wouldn't be blowing out tires, you'd go right up over it, continue on. I believe that was the discussion we had several years ago.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a
Mr. Ruda,
suggestion?
Please.
Well, can we put this back on the next agenda? And in the meantime, maybe the police chief and the town administrator and the owners of Gippens can come up with a short-term solution until we can study it a little further with the highway superintendent,
I'd like to see a
to
short
at
term.
least relieve some of the congestion and the potential hazards that are going on down there.
fair.
I think another possibility, and this came up in the the long string of conversation. There's a big unused parking lot right across the street. We're repairing the lights. There's crossing lights there. I would imagine Rite Aid, or I think Walgreens just bought Rite Aid, so who knows what's going to happen with that corner. But that part of that parking lot closest to West Main Street is almost never used.
Yeah, but it's their business.
It is their
Exactly.
business, and maybe approach them and find out, would they be opposed to allowing folks to park there, to walk across the street.
Or
with
even,
no lights, of
well, they own
course.
the library too, right? So the old.
They own
library.
Corbett. I was parked there that day. I had just crossed the street when I took that picture of the truck and
Okay.
the bus.
Oh, so you were there.
Oh, yeah.
So you did the
I
right.
park
thing.
at Corbin all the time.
I know.
I got in an accident. I got in an accident in that parking lot. I try not to park in there. It's too tight.
You know,
Let's add more regulations.
Mr. Chair, too, something to think about
Okay.
as we're discussing this section of town, that area. Just right down the road is gonna be another one.
Drive-through.
Business with a drive-through.
Yep.
And once again, I don't wanna penalize anyone to be a victim of their success. I have a feeling this one's gonna be okay. It may take some of the pressure off up the street, may not, but we know who those owners are, and if we're gonna be looking at a microcosm of that intersection, may behoove the administrator to reach out to the owner of that other business that's gonna be there pretty soon.
Get their
See
input
what the
too.
plan is?
Well, at least let them know that we're looking at Mr. Clark's concern, going back as far as Mill Street maybe even, and this business is gonna be there with a similar clientele, similar offerings,
Product. Yeah.
similar products, and
I can address that, Mr. Chairman, if you wish.
Yeah,
generally
please.
successful.
We had received plans, I think all the departments have received plans on it, and one of the main discussions we had was the same problem we're having with this place here. So what they've done, I forget, the term stacking, I know is the term they use for the vehicles lined up in a drive-through. So they're well aware of that, and I believe the setup that they have is that theirs goes almost around completely the entire building.
Right.
So you will go around, I believe, 3/4 of the building, and then order, and then drive up and then actually pick up in the front. So they have room, I believe, for, I don't know if it's 15 cars or something. There was sufficient space in there that was designed with that specifically in mind from this point, to have that.
That's pretty
go
close to the street too, what they're
around
building there, isn't
Well, I
it?
think what they're doing is they've
They
tore the
will-
building
they will-
down, so they're moving it back, but they're going
On
to
the
have
left,
it go
okay.
in and go around, and
Okay.
then
Like the Oxford model.
you basically pick up in front.
Yes.
You basically pick up in front of the store. You drive all the way around the building and pick up in front. So that's where the, I think it's like something like 15 cars or something. They had some 15 or 20 cars they had in their stacking model that could be off the street before that even becomes an
How
issue.
big is the parking lot gonna be, do you know?
Their parking lot, I'm not sure.
For that one?
I think most of it's mostly a drive-up business. So I think the only parking in there is going to be for,
It's gonna be a drive-through.
ease.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a regular place, it's gonna be a
So
drive-through.
there'll be no
The one in Webster
dismounting,
that you can't walk up?
no dismounting at all, and walking
From-
in?
I think so. I think
From
it's a
reviewing
walk-in, too.
them from a water sewer standpoint, yeah, it's gonna be strictly drive-through, and I don't think they're even gonna have a walk-up window.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you know
I
what,
didn't know
believe.
that.
we can do whatever we decide, but I just
Look, we
think
need
it'd
the
be.
data. We do need the data.
Yep.
Three things. We need to do something. We need to do the data. We need not to rush. And we need to get a sense of what impact this new location by Duncan will have on the traffic jam that occurs at Dippin. My guess is that people will go to Duncan if it'll be faster, however the difference in quality is perceived, that they'll go to Duncan if there's a long line and they don't have the time to wait at Dippin. That's my guess.
And unsafe.
We
Some
were just
people-
talking about that the other day. So even though we know we need to get something done, we should not rush. We shouldn't drag our feet, but we should get the data we need and come up with an intelligent
With a
decision.
short-term solution that just
Yeah, I know.
help with the congestion that we're dealing with right now.
Short-term,
Short-term solution while we study it.
enforce the no parking.
Yeah, enforcement and.
It's not
And work with
complicated.
the owner to maybe put up a sign inside saying, don't no parking. Maybe they have it, I haven't been in there.
Steve, is there no parking on the west or westerly side or easterly side of Village Street?
It's posted on the west side of the road.
Right. It is not, parking is not prohibited on the easterly side?
There's one on both sides.
There is
One on both
signs
sides.
over there, yes. I think what's happening is people are actually parking on the sidewalk, thinking they're avoiding parking on the street, and that's what the
Yeah, there is
That's
a
right.
no parking sign on the other side, too.
It's on the pole. It's a little
Yeah.
further down than the other one.
Now,
Well, it took action to ban it from the west side of the road. The other
not that
one
you
was already
people
there.
have time to do this in light of everything else that goes on, but enforce the no parking to the best of our ability at the high traffic times.
I would say too, this is the first I'm hearing about pictures as far as vehicles or whatever it was, because that could be something we could take action on. I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed that especially if things are being taken place by a town official, that discussion's not taking place either with the administrator or one of us.
These are residents that are doing this, not us.
Well, we just heard tonight from a town official that I'm
okay.
the source of photos. If those things are taking place, let us
Blame it
know.
us.
I mean,
Fine.
we have people in the government here, rather than discussing these things at a meeting when this becomes new news. I think there's opportunities to address these things, and we can have this, can take action with particular vehicles, or if people have pictures of vehicles or something that's there, we can obtain plate numbers and information and deal with things on a specific basis. Same thing I say with speeding in a neighborhood. If you can get me an identification on a car or a vehicle plate number, we can attack an issue head-on like that. I'd like to do that stuff.
Okay, fair enough, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Just want to emphasize again, just because someone's successful, we're not trying to victimize them
No,
of
not
their
at all.
success. And
All right, where are we?
I want the people at Dippin', if someone gets to them, and I don't even go there.
Why not?
Because I make my own coffee at home.
Yeah, I know, I started.
All right, we all done with the
Drink 2
Dippin'
cups in the
Donuts?
morning,
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna move that we grant the Congregational Church a parking waiver on Center Road on Saturday, December 2nd, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to accommodate the people who want to attend their annual Christmas fair.
Motion by Mr. Joseph.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sigenovich. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna move that
Joseph.
we grant permission to the Board of Health to spend $248 out of the Clarinda Wood Fund for the month of August 2017, and $123 for the month of September to pay Harrington Memorial Hospital for services.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Ruda. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Jared, you're up.
Good evening, everyone.
New guy.
The varsity football team fell to Doherty High School on Friday night, 35-14. The Rams will go into their last game 6-4. Their final game will be on Thanksgiving Day at Shepherd Hill against Tantascwa. The Shepherd Hill varsity cheerleaders hosted their annual invitational on Thursday, November 9th. Student Council partnered with the American Red Cross for their fall blood drive at Shepherd Hill on Friday, November 3rd. The National Honor Society is currently running their annual Thanksgiving food drive until Tuesday, November 21st. All donations will be given to area families in need. The Shepherd Hill Marching Band was named Grand National Champions in Open Division II at the U.S. Band's National Championships at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey on Saturday, November 11th.
Hey, that sounds like big time.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah. This is their second title in 3 years. A remarkable job by all. In the coming weeks at Shepherd Hill, the Mr. Shepherd Hill pageant will be held on Thursday, November 16th at 7 p.m. 16 upperclassmen boys, including yours truly, will battle it out for the coveted title of Mr. Shepherd Hill. The Shepherd Hill Music Parents Association's annual craft fair is this Saturday, November 18th from 9 to 4.
No problem.
And finally, the Shepherd Hill Show Choirs will present their annual holiday spectacular on December 1st and 2nd at 7 and 2 p.m. Come and support this local Christmas tradition.
What do we have lined up with Shepherd Hill for the Christmas tree lighting? We're gonna work have a nice little presentation like last year, nice? Oh, I know you, it's gonna be something.
Shells all over it.
So Jared, Shepherd Hill boys, 6-4, who were their 4 losses?
Shrewsbury twice, St. John's, and Doherty.
And what do they all have in common?
What's what?
What do they all have in common? Those are the 3 teams that made the playoffs. Shepherd Hill beat everybody, and the only losses were the teams in the playoffs.
St. John's undefeated.
Yep,
Shrewsbury just got beat,
2 losses.
and Doherty just won, I think.
But Shrewsbury
didn't
did just get beat?
Yeah, they beat
Shrewsbury has
Shepherd
2
Hill.
losses.
Yeah.
Shrewsbury had 2 losses, both to Shepherd Hill.
Not
I mean,
too
both of them,
shabby.
St. John's, St. John's.
Yeah, they had a good season.
It was a tough division this year.
Thank you, Jared. Board member comments? Mr. Joseph, anything?
No, sir.
Gary?
I think I've said enough.
Okay, Steve?
Mr. Chair, I just want to, he left, unfortunately, Steve Rogerson, our veterans agent, Dudley Veterans Council, all who participated at the parade. It was a cool, breezy morning, but the sun came out, and it was about 30 when we were marching. I wish the turnout could have been a little bit better, but I just want to send along our congratulations. They did an outstanding job, as always. The scouts, the bands that showed up, anybody that marched, and see you all Memorial Day. Those that are still here.
Steve, great.
I just wanted to thank the fire and police departments for showing up yesterday to escort the members of the champion members of the Shepherd Hill Band back to town. It's a great show of support from the community, and the kids love it. So, thanks a lot for doing that, Chiefs.
That's awesome. And, yeah, I was going to echo what Mr. Sullivan said. Just a great Veterans Day ceremony in the cold. We had a lot of support from everybody, like I said, from the Webster Board. They had a bunch of their selectmen that marched with us. It's kind of nice. You know, we would kind of walk, and then when we crossed the border, we let the Webster guys lead us into their town hall. So it was a nice sister community event.
Brother.
Oh, brothers. All right.
Yep.
And, Mr. Chair, I'd like to state, for the record, everybody stood, crossed their heart, saluted, gave the veterans and the flag the respect they deserve, and I would like to note that.
Damn right they did, Steve. Thank you. Anything else? Department head, Steve, anything? Sure.
I believe it's December 9th. It's a Saturday in December. We're going to do the Goods for Guns exchange program that we did last year as well. We started. UMass Hospital sponsors this, so allows anybody that has any old firearms or any firearms they're not going to use, or sometimes people get something that's maybe inherited in some way or whatever, if they want to get rid of them. It's a chance to turn them in, no questions asked, and they actually receive gift cards that are paid for by UMass. I believe they're gift cards to Park and Shop at the local supermarkets that they get in exchange for them. So I'll be putting the advertisement on it at some point soon, but I believe that's December 9th. We'll do it from like 9 a.m. till about 1 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Dean? Nothing? Danny? Nothing? Okay, wow.
Nothing happened in 2 weeks?
Oh, Mr. Joseph, can you lead us into
I'm going to
executive,
move that we
please?
adjourn into executive session
Whoa.
under Mass General Law, Chapter 30, subsection 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation regarding Brian Ceccarelli versus the town of Dudley, and not to reconvene in public session.
Roll call vote, please.
Second. You need a second?
Paul Joseph, aye.
Gary Siganovich, aye.
John Marcy, aye.
John Ritter.
Steven Sullivan, I just.
Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, though?
You're going to go freshen up?
Yeah.